Before I conclude, just one thing. I want to thank Mr. Short and Bonnie for our help with that, and getting the buses. And I don't know if you'll indulge me for a moment, Mrs. Cerrucci. This might be the last time I have an opportunity to speak to the board. So I just wanted to say a few things. One thing I wanted to say is I wanted to thank the board, this board, and every board that I've had the opportunity to serve under for 30 years. I know that you put a lot of time in. I know that you take a lot of abuse and heat, and often unfairly. I know that behind the scenes that you're all laboring for the same thing, to have a great school district, and that you have been part, you all now, and all of your predecessors, at least in the 30 years I've been here, are part of a tradition that have made this place a wonderful place to be, to go to school, and to have my children go to school and to work at. I'd also like to thank the administration, central administration, believe it or not. Not only you here, but all of the central administrators that I've had an opportunity to work with over the years. You guys have demanded excellence. Not just you, but since I've been here, have demanded excellence. You've demanded that we hone our craft and that we provide the best education that we can for the kids. You set standards and forced us to meet them. You made us better teachers. You made me a better teacher. I appreciate that. I would like to say one last thing. A special thank you to Bill Short. He was my neighbor. He was my colleague, my program manager, my principal, my assistant principal, and now my superintendent. But most importantly, he was my friend. Thank you for your trust in me. Thank you for your support. Thank you for making it fun. We had a long time together and a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. You made it that way. And thank you on behalf of the citizenry and the others for what you've done for Gateway. All that I ever wanted to be was a high school social studies teacher. I'm so glad I was here. Thanks.
Is that the same guy that was in the negotiating room?
Now that everybody's crying, Mr. Wallace, I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
You're not just a social studies teacher, you're like the best social studies teacher ever.
Sorry, I apologize for
I was planning on saving my roast for your last official duty, which is graduation night on the field, like you've been there for the last 30 plus years. No doubt that, as a young social studies teacher, notice I said young, and Mr. Wallace is slightly older than myself. Even though whenever I venture in this classroom, the kids always say that I'm the older one. I still don't understand that. I came upon someone that was so passionate about the profession that it rubbed off on me as an educator. And the time I spent picking his brain, understanding that he really learned, studied, and read excessively to hone his craft, and then become what I often refer to as the storyteller. And I think the kids understand what I'm talking about.
Maybe.
That there are very few people in this profession, and I've seen hundreds of them, thousands of teachers that can mesmerize a group of 25 to 30 students by simply delivering a lecture and occasionally an overhead projector. But it has truly been our pleasure as residents of Monroeville and Pitcairn to have had this teacher, this educator, be a part of all of our lives. He will sorely be missed. I'm currently trying to negotiate contract extensions for prom fashion show, keeper of the clock, you name it, bring him in. I said he can come in and sub every day for U.S. history. I will have more to say with all of our retirees at the end of May at our board meeting, but for Mr. Wallace, it's been an incredible ride. Yes, you were my neighbor. Sound like Mr. Rogers. But clearly, you've rubbed off on everything that I've strived for over my career, and that is excellence in education, and more importantly, for our children, because that's why we're both here. You know, we've recognized it, and we've made it our mission to keep the standards as high as they are in Gateway, and they will continue to be. So kids, appreciate it, understand that you have an icon right there in front of you who has touched so many kids' lives that still connect with them, that come back to share memories, and it's a special time. And this is Mr. Wallace's time with Mrs. Wallace and Maddie to enjoy the next several decades moving forward.
Let's hope.
Thank you, Mark.
And our condolences to Mrs. Wallace.